Hey folks, today I wanted to talk to you about a tool that you're going to end up using as you progress as a developer. And that tool is the Git Interactive Rebase. Now, the reason I wanted to talk about this is because every video or tutorial or article about this that I have seen so far, it just did not answer the questions that I had while trying to figure out how to use it, or they were just really poorly worded or just really hard to follow. So I figured, you know what, let me put one together that's going to explain this topic in a way that I think anybody who has taken my course, Programming for Musicians, C++ for Musicians, would be able to understand because they're familiar with my teaching style and they know how detailed I get into it. So let me show you the reason that I'm doing this, and then I'll take you through the process. So let's go to, I'm going to be using Fork as my repo GUI manager thing that I'm using. It's different than SourceTree, which is what I use in the course, and the main reason I'm using it here is because the way that it goes about handling this Rebase interactively process is much better than in SourceTree. For whatever reason, SourceTree kind of bungled it, and it's really hard to use. It's not intuitive at all. This is much more intuitive. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to explain what's going on. So right now I'm in the middle of developing another course that goes along with my PFM C++ thing. This course is in how to write this little application right here. This thing called task queue. And it's basically if you have, say you're working on some project and you're trying to just break it down into the steps that you need to do. A lot of people will use, they'll use notes, they'll use reminders, or they'll just try to keep track of it all in their head. And that works for some people, but for some of us, you know, it's really helpful if we break down those steps into, like if we jot it down somewhere. And the things that I noticed is that reminders and notes, they don't let you nest things. So a good case in point of that is, say I'm going through some edits and I know I want to, I know I'm going to need to edit some guitar parts. So let me jot down some of the things that are like what needs to actually be edited. And then I can say like, once I do these things, then I have actually finished editing my guitar parts, right? If I want to get A done, I can't say I've done A until I've done B, C, and D. So that's the motivation behind this app. And I used it in the course to show the whole overview of the course so we could see what we have to cover, where we are in the course, and whatnot. This was visible throughout every video in my Programming for Musicians, C++ for Musicians course. So with that said, I'm in the middle of scripting this project, which shows how to make it from scratch. Towards the end of it, I changed to a different scripting style where I keep all of my scripts kind of, let's see, where is this? Here we go. I keep all of my scripts here at the top, and it's like all the dialogue and all the steps are in one place, and then in the code itself is where I have the actual just markers of where I need to look. And previously, what I was doing, I would let's see, where was that commit I was on? I was on this commit. Previously what I would do is I would have the step and the dialogue right in line. And the problem that I was running into is that when I'm trying to shoot this stuff, I'm doing really long pauses in between steps to search for the next step. Like, case in point, we start over here in main.cpp. I go through the first 4 steps, but then it's like, okay, where's step 5? Is it here? Is it here? I don't know, and I'm jumping around and I don't know where to go. So that was a problem for me. I realized that this is not a small project. There's a lot of commits. There's a lot of steps to it. You know, like we're developing a fully functional multi-window application. And I need to figure out a better way to do these scripts so it's easier for me while I'm shooting them to keep track of it all. So I'm going through the process right now of revising all of these scripts, and I keep the steps of the scripts in every commit. So with Git Interactive Rebase, I have the ability to revise these commits and change them and kind of totally redo the history of the project. All right, so with that said, what we're going to do in this video is we're going to go through the process of revising this commit right here, implemented delete key. It includes all the steps for that. We're going to revise all of this stuff because it's only 4 little steps. The process you have to do, well, first let's kill this. Okay, the process we have to do is we need to first, I'm using fork instead of source tree to do this. It's just easier to do rebasing in fork than in source tree. For whatever reason, source tree kind of bungled that whole feature of Git, and it's really unintuitive to use, and that's part of the reason that I have problems trying to get this stuff working. With that said, basically what you do is you go to the commit before the commit you want to edit. You right click, you interactive rebase, and then rebase whatever branch you're on to here interactively. That pulls up this dialog box. You're going to scroll down to the commit you want to change, this one right here, implemented delete key, and you click edit and then rebase. And what it does is it undoes every commit prior to that. Yeah, it rolls you back to this commit basically, and now you can edit this commit and do whatever you need to do. Okay? All right, cool. So that's step one, and just kind of rewind everything back to this point in time. Now we can revise it. All right, so for me, I'm keeping all of my scripts and stuff, trying to keep most of them in this task-queue container.h file. So we'll just have that up here on the screen on this right side. And I'll look for the first step. That's here. Let's remove writing our icon to disk now that we have a valid icon. So this will be step one. Put this here, and then I'm going to say step one, comment out this code here. And then I'll just add the marker there and get rid of that. I'm going to go through these steps. I'm not going to talk through it. I'm going to start talking again after I've completed this step. Okay, so I've got my script transferred over and revised a little bit, so it's real easy for me to figure out what to do and where to do it. And now I can go back to fork. And now I've got some commits to deal with. All right, so we'll just stage these files. Stage. We can see all of the changes that we made. All right, that's the best part. We can make sure that see, we removed this comment and replaced it with the one that we wanted, the actual step. Same for here. These guys got reordered a little bit. And then we have our proper script. Okay, so the next thing you do is you click amend, because we are amending the previous commit. And then we say amend last commit. And then we click continue rebase. Now what it tries to do next is it tries to apply the commit that came after the one we just amended to the commit we just amended. And there's going to be some conflicts. So as you can see here, could not apply this commit named remove comments to the current source files. Resolve all the conflicts manually, mark them as resolved, and then you can continue your rebase operation. All right, so we'll close this, and now what we have to do is go through each of these files and manually resolve the merge conflict. So for me, the step that it's having issues with is the remove comments step, where I delete all of the comments that I added in the previous step, basically all the dialogue and all that stuff. That's what needs to get removed. Okay, so we want to basically down here in the bottom, I'm using the tool P4Merge. Mac OS X comes built in with a tool named File Merge. If I don't save this and I change this to show that, preferences, integration, merge tool, file merge. Okay, close this and then merge an external tool. File merge looks very similar. So we'll close this. I'm going to change it back to P4Merge. And now merge an external tool. So now what I have to do is go through this and figure out what should it be. So it used to be this, it is currently this, and it wants to do this. So we have to tell it which one to do. We have to tell it the correct way to merge. We want this. And if we save this and quit, it says it's good to go. So now if we go to main.cpp and we look, we can see that for this remove comments commit, it's going to remove these guys here, which is what we want it to do. And we'll do the same thing for the header file here. So we want to remove this chunk of code here. So we want it to look like this guy. And in order for that to happen, it needs to, we want it to have this space because that's what it's expecting to get. All right, let's go down to the next ones. It wants to do this, or it expected this so it could do this, but instead it has this. Now, if we're ever unsure, we can stage this. We can go back here and we can just look. We can see that, like, here's where our key pressed is. here's where we can see there's a conflict. This is what actually gets added into the Git thing. So into the Git commit. So when we revise this merge an external tool, this is where we can change this part. So we'll get rid of this and do the same thing here. Remove these comments. Save and quit. And if we're ever unsure, we can just go to our actual source code file after we've done the resolution. After we've done the resolve conflict. And then we can actually just go in here and we can do some more edits. If you're ever unsure, you can just build it. And if it builds safely, you'll know that all of the conflict resolutions have been performed. All right, so with that said, we can stage this file, and now we can continue our rebasing. So now it's going to apply the next commit onto it. And if it's cool, then you're done. It was able to apply it. So we can go down to where our change was. Script needs editing. So this is our implemented delete key. And this is, let's go to where that is. We can see that's implemented delete key is right here. We can see that we've got our, this is our current new scripting. And here's our full script right there. And all of our steps are very easy to see and understand now. Okay, so that's the basic process of Git Interactive Rebase. It's a very cool tool. It's very helpful. The main issue that you're going to have with it is once you do this this change, if you have your code existing on some other repository or on a remote repository, if you want these changes to show up in the remote, you have to do a force push. And if there are other people looking at your repository, it can really mess things up because you're going to have like two different versions of this. You're going to have like the version that they have on their computer is going to be different than the version that you have on your computer. And if they try to pull, it's going to have a lot of big problems. So to get around that, you have to do force push. And now you have your repository is cool and the remote repository is cool. And for them to deal with it on their external, on their computer, they just need to do a hard pull from the remote and reset their repository accordingly. All right, so that wraps up Interactive Rebase. It's a very cool feature. It can be really confusing, and if you try to do it in SourceTree, the experience absolutely sucks, and that was a big reason for me getting stuck on this. So I hope this is helpful to you, and it helps clear up how you're supposed to go about doing interactive rebasing. All right, so with that said, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for checking it out. If you haven't checked out my Programming for Musicians C++ course, you can do that over here. Just visit programmingformusicians.com/pfmcpp, and that'll take you to the actual course page where I have reviews from previous students, as well as we're currently in the middle of a course right now. We also have reviews from previous students. I have the whole course syllabus where you get to see everything that you learn. And yeah, a bunch of good stuff there. So if you've ever been curious about how to write applications or that sort of thing, like if you want to write an app like TaskQ or whatever, or you want to write audio plugins, or you want to get started in game development or whatever, this is a great way you can go about learning the language to get up to speed as quickly as possible. C++ is not easy. It's just taught really poorly. That's what I found. Most people that try to go about learning it, they get shown the stuff that just sucks to learn. It's like the unfun side of C++. It's like if you were to take guitar lessons and all you learned was scales, and you really wanted to learn how to play songs. You want to learn the actual song parts. You don't want to just learn like technical stuff. You want to learn how to actually play. So the best way to learn how to play is to just start learning tunes. So in this case with code, the best way to learn to do it is to, get your feet wet with the language and then go about doing an actual project. Okay, with that said, I'm going to sign off, and I hope this video helps you out in your work as a developer. All right, talk to you all soon. Later.